Hi, it's Steffi from Steffi's Beads and Baubles, and I've got this candle ornament I want to show you how to make. Now, I am going to do this video a little different because I'm doing a silver candle stick, same candle color here, but a yellow flame. I was going to do a red candle, but if you look closely at this piece, you will understand why I chose not to do red. But you could do red, green, blue, any color you wanted, but for the video's sake, I decided to stick with the white and cream. And this is how, this one's a bit different than my average video. Now, for those who've never made an ornament before, I take an ink pad, and I take a cookie cutter. And this one I've been obsessed with doing for weeks. And then I stamp it out on paper if I'm doing multicolors, especially if I'm going to cut out different pieces so I know exactly what I'm doing. Then I stamp out 2 pieces on the color I want. Now I want to do a front and a back in white. So this is an extra one. I've got one stamped out for the back already. And it doesn't matter if there's ink on it. This one will actually go under this one. I'm going to switch them out. This one actually had some ink on it, so I'm going to actually switch it with the other one, because this could go on the inside. But I also stamped out, so then I stamped out one that I could put all the pieces on, because when you're doing multi-pieces, the easiest way to do it is to stitch them onto a background. Then use that whole piece as the front of the ornament. So since this one has a stain on the back, and I forgot about that, we'll transfer them. But I stamped each of these pieces out of the right color. So I did a silver, let me move it where you can see it. I did, let's see, can you see that? I did a silver, let's see, hold it, okay, silver bottom out of gray felt. Then I did a white candlestick, and then I did a cream for the top of the candle where the wax had melted. I thought that would give it kind of more of a, you know, because when the candle melts, sometimes it's a slightly different color, and so that's what I was kind of going for. And then I just kind of lay them on top after I cut out each piece in the right color. And I decided this time to do the flame in yellow instead of orange. Then I fit them all together, and then one at a time I'll stitch them onto the background. Now, because I'm going to start with the silver, I'm taking everything else off. And I'm just going to start with this silver, and I'm going to stitch this piece onto this. Now, I might have made this a little bit more narrow. If you see a little bit of felt showing through, do not worry about that. For one, it'll pull in a little bit as you work with it, and at the end, before you stitch it together, you can always take a pair of good sharp detail scissors, but don't do it until then, because I have seen that much disappear after I stitched everything together. This piece here, I probably should have cut this a little bit deeper, but I think it'll be fine. If I pull it up a little bit, it should be fine. But if that makes you nervous, you can always recut it and make it look right. But I'm going to start with this, and basically I'm using a gray thread for the silver, but you can use white for all of it. And I'm going to start at one end. I'm going to start down here at the round end, and because this is going to be hidden, you just come straight out through the back and come. Oh, I guess I didn't tie a knot. I thought, oh, you know why? I restarted this video because I didn't like the way it started, so I redid it. I forgot to tie a knot. I had to cut the thread and start over. You guys don't realize how bad I am about this. Sometimes you'll see a video that I've restarted 3 or 4 times, because I will not do it if I don't think it's good. Okay, so let's start over here. Okay, so now I'm going to go through from the back, making sure this is all lined up. I'm going to come through the back right here. I'm going to pull through, let the knot catch, and then I'm going to go back down. It doesn't matter where. You want to leave a little thread on top of the piece. That's what holds your knot in really well. Then I'm going to come back toward the end, and I'm going to put in another, go in again, and then I'm going to pick up a silver sequin. Now I'm using a vintage silver, and I'm putting it upside down because these are cupped sequins. Cup sequins are basically that. They have these are very tiny seed beads I'm using, and I'm having a heck of a time picking that up. So I'm going to pick up an upside down cup sequin, and I'll show you why, because when you pull it onto your fabric, upside down, puts it right side up with the little seed bead on top. Then I'm going to go through just the sequin, bringing it as close to the edge as I can, and then come down through the felt, like that. Now, when I can do it, and on this one I can, I'll go around the edge first. And the reason I like to go through around the edge first is because then if you have little spots that, yeah, that's going to definitely probably need to be trimmed right there. If you go around and you end up with a couple little spots, it's easy to fill it in. Where if you go back and forth, you could end up with too little space down here and your sequin ends up going over the edge, which it looks much better to have them layered on top in the middle than to have it be overlapping. So I'm going to go ahead and then that's another thing you can do on a spot like that is you can always slightly overlap the sequins. If you want to keep it deeper, you can slightly overlap the sequins in that one area to carry it over. Because we're only stitching these all together, we will be putting the back on before we do the edge. So these pieces just have to fit together and look good. So I may come down along here and slightly overlap it right there because I made a mistake in cutting. I should have cut that a little bit deeper right there. Let me show you. And since I don't want to start over, I'll just come down to here and then I'll overlap the sequin slightly over this area so it'll fill in and look fine and nobody will ever know when it's done. Now when I put on the next sequin, I'm going to come up as close as I can to the first one. Let me see what I'm doing and then put it where you can see it. Let me get through there. I'm going to get it close. I'm going to pull the thread through. I'm going to add another upside down sequin. So basically I flip them over on my mat. And I use the beading mats, and you can find these at Hobby Lobby. I think they're like 3 for $3. Then if you use the 40% off, you get them even cheaper. So there they are. And then I'm going to take and just gently move this. Sometimes I'll use my finger. Whoops, hold on. Sometimes I'll use my finger to help. Sometimes I just use a needle. And I kind of shove it up underneath. See if you can see that. No. And then I go back through just the sequin. And I'll pull that tight. And it'll be up underneath the one in front of it. Now, like I said, don't worry if there's a tiny bit of edging showing, because you got to have a little edge to grab onto. So I'm going to finish this silver, and then I'll start the candle, and I'll come back when I start the white part of the candle. And basically I'm just going to plop it on there like this. After this is done, I'll plop that on there and start putting the white beads on there. So when I start the candle, I'll come right back. Oh, and real quickly, I'm using a silver metallic sequin right here. These are vintage, but you can use brand new ones. And these are one of the easiest sequins. These in gold are so easy. And you can use gold, copper, bronze, whatever color you want. And then I used, this is from Hobby Lobby. This is a silver lined, so you see it says SL. I don't know if you can see it. But it says S/L, which is silver lined crystal. These run $3, but if you get them on clearance, on sale, which they usually are once or twice a month, the check beads go on sale, and you can get these for 50% off, which is $1.50 a tube. And you get a pretty good amount in that tube. And so now you can use these. They sell these as well if you want a silver. But I like the idea of it kind of disappearing, because once you put it on there, it kind of disappears and all you see is the silver sequin. But now if you're using a bronze or a copper, or if you get something fancy like that online, then you might want to adjust your seed bead. If you're going to get fancy like that, you can find the seed beads to match as well. There are thousands of seed beads and sequins out there to buy. So this can be a very inexpensive, simple hobby, or it can be crazy, and I'm kind of in the crazy zone because I have 2, 4, 6, 8, 10 shoe boxes, one per color. Then I have 2, 3 sweater boxes and a sweater box that's taller, full of sequins. So I will be back when I'm done with the silver here, and then we'll start on the candle. So I shall be right back for you, but it'll be a little bit for me. Okay, I finished the silver. Overlapped slightly where there was a little bit short on the silver, and instead of trimming it, I wanted to make this a little bit bigger, and so I just slightly went over, you can see with the sequins, to level it out. Now I've put on white thread, and I've come through and gone back through and back up through the white. I'm now going to do the white the same way. Pick up a white sequin upside down and a white seed bead, and then I'm going to start sewing this piece together. And just the same way, I'm just going to go down. I'm going to push it up. I'm basically pretending this is all one big piece, even though it's little sections. And I'm just going to push this up underneath the silver as if it was one piece, and go back down through the felt and pull it tight. And then just continue. I'm going to go up and around and then fill in this piece. Then I'll be back to put the cream colored portion on, which is right here. Wait, where is it? Yeah, which is right here. So I'll be back when I'm done with the white, and we'll start doing the cream. Now the cream's a little bit bigger around, but as you can see on the original one, it really doesn't affect it, because when you stitch it together, it all kind of pulls together. So I'll be back when the white's done to show you how the two look and how they merge together. Okay, so now the white is done, and I've basically kind of merged them together, and it doesn't matter that the two pieces of felt, that none of these are stitched together, because they're all stitched to the fabric below, and when you edge it, it'll give it the security you need it to have. Now I'm going to do the top of the candle, and I'm doing that in a cream, and I've got a cream color beigey yellow thread. I've got this creamy chantilly cream sequin, and I'm using a seed bead that is called Buttermilk, and it's also a beige color. But like I said, you could do the whole thing in one color. You could edge it with thread or sequins or seed beads or bugle beads to make the difference if you want to make it look like drips. There's all kinds of things you can do. I'm fortunate enough to have a bunch of different sequins so that I can do the different colors, but you don't have to do it that way. So I'll be right back when I get this done, and then we'll do the little flame. Okay, so now all I've got left to do is the flame, which is stitch on this bright yellow on top, and then we can do the edge. So it's very subtle between the white and the cream, which is what I wanted. I wanted it to just be a subtle change so that this looked more like melted wax. And then the silver gives it a completely different look. And then once we do the edge, I think it'll change the look because it'll keep it more straight and pretty. So I'll be back when the flame's done, and then we will start on the beaded edge. Okay, the whole front is done, and now I'm going to sew the two together, but we're going to do a different edge than we normally do, and that is a single bead edge. I usually do a triple bead, but I'm going to start it the same way by going in between the two layers, except you can see there's two layers here, but between the top and bottom, I'm going to come up in between so that my knot is in between the two sides. And I'm going to go to the back and come back around just like I do when I do the other edge. But all I'm going to do is put one bead on, and I'm using the silver beads for the edge. So you put one bead on and then go back through. Make sure you don't come up through a sequin, because then you would lay the thread on top of the sequin. Then you're going to come through and come up through that seed bead from the bottom And just keep doing that. It's a little simpler than the other edge in that it's just one bead. But it's a little more difficult because you have to come up right next to it if you want it to lay right. So you got to kind of be close together. But it's a pretty simple edge in that you're just adding one bead at a time, and then it kind of twists the first few. Go to the back. Remember, always going the direction that you're going. You're going to come up because that's going to bring the string coming up through that bead is going to make the space for the next bead. And you can see how they're laying right next to each other. So I'll do a couple more, and then I'll break away and come back when I change colors. Although this is, again, so much easier than changing colors on the other trim, because this is just one bead at a time. So I'm just coming back from the back through the layers of felt, which on most ornaments is 2, but it's 3 on this one because I used a second piece of felt to sew the different colored pieces on. Then again, I'm going to go to the back, pull up through that bottom of that bead. And I'll be honest, I don't worry about the back being perfect. I could pay really close. See, this is the only thing working with sequins. It's a pain in the butt. Is you're going to have them catch constantly. Okay. There we go. Now, you pull it and see they lay really nice next to each other. And you're just going to keep doing that. You can see some of my threads are shorter, some are longer. I'm going to go all the way around. When I finish the silver, I'll come back and show you how I go to the white. But it's super simple, even easier than what I showed on the last one, switching colors on the tri-bead edging. So I'll be back to show you how this looks and to show you how to change colors. So I'll be right back. I just finished this silver edging on the piece. Let me get this lighting right here. So I finished the single edge, and I want to show you the difference between doing the single beaded edge and doing the tri-beaded edge. Can you see how much cleaner the line looks? It looks much sharper than it does on here. Now, many ornaments look good with this edge, but you can see how clean and nice it looks with just a single edge. So sometimes when you have a very sharp lines, it's better to do it in the single beaded edge, which is simply a single bead. And like I said, it's just like the other one. It's just I'm just putting on one at a time. Now I'm going to tie off this silver. I'm going to tie on a white thread, and I'm going to do the candle up to the flame, and then I'll do the flame and come back. But what I think I'm going to do is finish the edging on this whole thing, do the white and the flame and the whole candle and the flame, and come back and we'll do the loop. But there's no difference in adding because you're just simply one bead at a time. So you just get to the edge of the silver, and then I'll just start up the candle with the white. See? So I'll be right back. Alright, I've got it all edged, and you can see a huge difference between the two. So when you're making ornaments, judge whether the detail will be obscured by doing the fancy trim. And on this one, I think you can see it's still pretty with the fancy trim, but it does obscure the sharp, clean lines of that particular cookie cutter. I like this much better. I don't think the color is as big a deal, but you can see it's much smaller and much more delicate, and I like it a lot better. Now, when you do your loop, you can decide what color you want to do. I like the silver, but the problem with this type of silver bead is it tends to be a painted on finish. And if it's handled too much, it will come off. It's great for earrings that where you're not going to touch them. In other words, you don't want to put this on a pair of beaded fringed earrings on the area that you're going to be touching a lot when you put them on. They can wear over time. So I chose to do the white seed bead for the loop, and we're going to do about 6 inches and I just got out a little tiny ruler, but of course you can use any ruler. 6 inches of beads. And I double looped it because I like to make the loops extra heavy duty. I put a little knot at the bottom, and there's 2 ways you can do this. Now when you feel more secure and you're a little more comfortable, you can come in up under the sequins like this. You can come up and find the top bead and come up through the top, and then it hides the stitch. But until you're comfortable with that, just come in through the back of the piece like here, and you're just going to come up, and you want to find 2 seed beads on top that you can come up through one and then back down through the other one. So see, I went up through the one, and I'm right through the middle of the seed bead. I'm going to come up through there. I'm going to put on 6 inches of beadwork, or beads, not beadwork, of beads. And the reason I do 6 inches, it makes you a 3-inch loop, which is perfect for putting on a tree. You don't really, now your personal preference of course determines the last of it. My hands are so dry. I just looked at them, and this time of year, especially with the heat on, my hands get like prickly dry. But you can do your personal preference. I seem to, this is what the loop looks like finished. This is a 3-inch or 6-inch piece. I took 6 inches and then folded it to make the 3-inch loop. And it seems to be big enough to hang on pretty much any branch of a tree. But you can go bigger than that if you want. You can go smaller than that if you want. If you're making an ornament that you're perhaps going to hang on a rear view mirror, there's 2 ways you can do that. You can make the loop bigger and then use a twist tie. That's what we did for years. Or you can do 2 separate pieces, which I've got a couple videos showing that, where you go up through, you come up through your bead and go up through, add a lobster claw, come back through, and then tie off. Then instead of going around and coming through the other side, you're coming back through the one you started on. Then you go up to the other side that you would come through with a regular loop, and put the other side with a loop on it to hook the lobster claw. And there are several of my videos that show that. I'll be doing another one again soon that I show you that technique. Probably when we're done with Christmas, because most of the Christmas ornaments are just a loop. But for years we put the angels on our rear view mirrors with a twist tie from a loaf of bread. So I'll be back when I'm done with the 6 inches of beads, and I'll show you how to put it through and tie it off, and we'll have our finished ornament. So I shall be right back. Okay, I got my loop finished, and I'm going to go back through the other top piece. Now I figured out something I made a mistake on, and you'll see it as I pull through. I'll show you what I did wrong. Hold on, it got twisted. You're going to want to make sure when you pull it that it's all flat and straight, nothing got twisted. But when I started looking, my knot came out. I cut it too close, which I've not done in a long time. I think there's still a tiny bit of a knot, but now it's loose. So this is what you can do if it happens to you. You see that little tag right there where the knot was? I don't know if you can see that, where this little piece of thread is sticking up. I'm just going to pull the thread up, hold the little tab down with my finger like that, and I'm just going to go around it, which is how I knot off anyway. Whenever I tie something off, I just go in loops around like this. But I want to get that knot and make sure that it's secure. So I'm going to go around that untied knot. I still think there was a little tiny bit of knot left. But I'm going to go around it a bunch of times. Then I'm going to go around it, and see that held it down. Then I'm going to go through it the other direction. And you can see it's held down now. There's the little tag. Now, should you put glue on it? You could. You could put a dot of fabric glue on that. I won't, because it won't come undone once you've gone around it a few times. But if it makes you feel better, you can. And that was my fault. I kind of had a feeling I had done that. When I used these, I clipped it really short. But that's it, and your candle is done. And you can do whatever color loop you want. I like to pull from the white. I would have maybe pulled from the silver, except like I said, I just don't trust these not to rub off. And so I want it to keep looking nice for years to come. And as long as you don't make a habit of holding it all the time by this, it'll be fine. And once a year, putting it on the tree will be fine. And most of the time, you're going to pick it up like this. So even if you handle that a little bit, it's not the same as rubbing on the loop. But you could do that, just be really careful. I mean, once a year hanging it on the tree and taking it off, it might still last for years if you really love the idea of the silver loop. But that's our finished candle. And that's the back of it. And I'll show you the back of the other one, so you can see the difference. It's a lot less fussy. I like this finish on many, oh, there's a loose thread. I like this finish on many of my ornaments, but on this candle, what I fell in love with was the sharp, clean lines of this particular, because I have a bunch of candlesticks. None of them had these sharp, clean, pretty, look at this. It's just so pretty. I just fell in love with the shape of it and how clean and straight those lines were. It wasn't real rounded like most of my other candlestick cookie cutters were. And I wanted to preserve that, and the first time did not. Then my husband pointed out to me that in most cases candlesticks are silver, but I know that gold is very popular at Christmas. This also shows you the difference between a gold, or a yellow, I should say, and orange flame. I think I like the yellow, and definitely without the edging, the flame is shaped more like an actual flame. So when you're doing an ornament, consider whether you want to do the fancy trim. And I've even done ornaments where I've done fancy and straight on different parts of the ornament. You can do that as well. But anyway, so that's this ornament. I hope you enjoyed this. As for the cookie cutter, I don't know what to tell you. This is one I bought online, and I have no way to give you a pattern for it. But what I'll do is I will take a photo of this cookie cutter. I will put it on my blog, on my graph, on my pink graph cutting board. And then that way maybe you can trace it and get a copy of it. I don't know how to do all those printables. I will try this year to figure it out, or work hard to figure it out so that I can give you more printables. But if I at least take a photo of it and put it on my blog, which is should be linked in the description below, you should be, but it's steffiesbeadsandbaubles.com. It's a WordPress blog, but we don't use the WordPress. It's just steffiesbeadsandbaubles.com. I will do my best. It might not be today, but sometime this week I will get that picture up. I got an order for a Christmas tree, and since I'm now doing them without this little star, I'm doing them with the bigger star, I've got to make a new one. So I think I'm going to do a new Christmas tree video, because the original Christmas tree is from a few years ago, and I'm going to try to do a little bit better video. So I'm going to do that today too. So anyway, I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope you fell in love with this candlestick as much as I did. And when you're looking at your cookie cutters, look at the differences in the shapes of different ones. You might find that you have 3 or 4 of the same style, but that one stands out as a little bit prettier or more interesting than the other ones like it. So, but I thought this was a really fun one, and I've really wanted to do this one for you for a really long time. So I will be back soon. I've got a couple other Christmas ornaments to do for you. Oh, and I wanted to show you another thing I almost did but didn't end up doing, and that was I was going to put a holly leaf on here. And I think that would look really cute, and you can get these in the mixture, the Christmas mixture at Cartwright's. I didn't end up doing it, but that's another option. If you wanted to add a little color, you could do the leaf with a couple red seed beads, you know, like 3 or 4 red seed beads to hold it on. And if I do one, I'll include a picture in my blog of it. So I may go ahead and add this on there. I just had a hard time getting this video finished for you, and I didn't want to add yet another step. But if I get that added on, I will put that in my blog as well with what I used. So I'll be back soon, and thank you so much for watching. I hope you're having a wonderful week. Bye.